If sticker charts worked long term, teachers wouldn't have to start over every single year. And if reward systems actually built strong character, you wouldn't have to keep increasing the prize. In this space, we protect dignity, yours and your child's, especially when behavior is hard. We believe structure is stabilizing. We believe calm is leadership. We believe fear distorts perception. This is where parenting becomes steadier, more intentional, more grounded. Let's begin. I'm Christine, and today we're going to talk about why reward systems often backfire, even when you use them correctly. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why rewards work short-term, why they quietly undermine internal motivation, and what actually builds internal responsibility instead. Because here's the truth. Rewards are excellent at training behavior. They are terrible at building character. And science actually supports that. Short-term, rewards work beautifully. They increase compliance, they increase performance, they create quick learning. You can teach a child to tie their shoes faster if you offer them a piece of candy to do so. Then they would learn without one. That's right. But the same research shows that short-term compliance shows something else. When you add external rewards to behaviors that could have learned internal meaning, intrinsic motivation decreases over time. The child shifts from this matters to what do I get? So if you've tried sticker charts, point systems, screen time, trades, contracts, marble jars, and either escalated, collapsed, or turned into a negotiation battlefield, that doesn't mean you did it wrong. It means the system was designed for short-term compliance, not long-term identity building. And today we're going to talk about what reward systems are really teaching your child about contribution, belonging, and value. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Okay, let's slow this down. Behavioral psychology, especially early behaviors, show us clearly. And today we're going to talk about what reward systems are really teaching your child about contribution, belonging, and value. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Okay, we're going to slow this down. Behavioral psychology, especially early behavioral Especially early behaviorist models demonstrate clearly that reinforcement increases behavior. You reward something, it increases. That's not controversial. That is measurable. But later research in motivation theory, especially self-determination research, began asking deeper questions. What happens when we repeatedly reward behaviors that could have grown intrinsically? The answer is uncomfortable. When rewards become expected, internal motivation decreases. This is called the over-justification effect. If a child already enjoys drawing and you start paying them to draw, their enjoyment decreases once the payment stops. The brain recalibrates and stops asking, do I enjoy this? And starts asking, is it worth it? That shift is subtle but powerful because once behavior becomes transactional, the internal engine never fully develops and a family system that matters deeply doesn't develop. But you might be thinking, rewards worked for me growing up. Stay with me. They probably did improve your behavior. That's not for debate. The question is, did they build internal motivation? Or did they train you to perform for evaluation? There's a difference to being trained to respond to incentive and developing a stable internal sense of responsibility. Most of us are trained. We learn to work for grades, for praise, for approval, for paychecks. And that can produce high achievement. But achievement is not the same as identity. And parenting is about identity. Stay with me, because this is where a shift happens. Rewards are not neutral. They create a hierarchy. They create an emotional economy. You track, you measure, you evaluate, you distribute. The child performs. You decide whether it was enough. That dynamic may look structured, but it quietly shifts the meaning of contribution. Instead of I matter here, it becomes I earn here. And earning is conditional. Belonging is not. When a child contributes because they belong, the behavior grows from identity. When a child contributes, they're compensated, and the behavior grows from transaction. And transactions require constant management. You become the manager of the emotional marketplace in your house. That's exhausting. Let me offer a different picture. In a healthy family, every child should be missed when they're not there. Not emotionally, but structurally. If they sleep over at a friend's house, something should not get done. The dishwasher stays full, the dog doesn't get fed on time, the trash isn't taken out, laundry piles up. Their absence changes the system. Why? Because they're contributors, not earners, not performers, members. That is dignity and that is belonging. And belonging builds internal motivation. Internal motivation lasts. External motivation requires constant increase. When you create a reward system, you create leverage. You are now gatekeeper to something desirable. If they honor it, you pay up. If they fall short, you disappoint. If the system resets, you become the obstacle. The chart becomes emotional currency. And in homes where attachment is fragile and anxiety is high or power struggles are already intense, the chart becomes a battlefield. Some children sabotage the system entirely, not because they don't want the reward, but because waiting feels unbearable, because hope feels risky, because failing later feels worse than failing now. So they control it first before you can. That feels stabilizing. It feels powerful, but it's not motivation, it's protection. Let me say something uncomfortable. If your child only contributes when there's something in it for them, that is not a motivation issue, it's a culture issue. The culture in your home is not built by charts, it's built by routine, expectations, and shared meaning. If contribution only happens when there's a payoff, you've built a contract, not a community. Contracts require enforcement. Communities require belonging. And belonging lowers intensity. Intensity feeds control battles. So what do we do instead? We remove emotional currency. We build routines. We let the routine hold the authority. Instead of you earn dessert, it could become dessert happens after dinner. If dinner was chaos, dessert doesn't happen. No speech, no lecture, no scoreboard. The routine holds. Instead of you get screen time if you do your homework, it becomes screens are available after homework. Flat, predictable, boring, stable. Structure lowers anxiety. Lower anxiety reduces power struggles. Instead of you earn an allowance if you do chores, it becomes chores are part of living here, allowance is separate. It's more consistent. It's not emotionally tied. Contribution is not negotiation. It is expected because you belong. Here's the quiet damage rewards can create. When you attach reward to an everyday responsibility, contribution is not negotiated. It is expected because you belong. Here's the quiet damage rewards can create. When you attach a reward to an everyday responsibility, the message is this is not inherently valuable. You unintentionally teach work only when paid. And once that lesson is internalized, it spreads. Why help if I'm not earning anything? Why try if there's no prize? External motivation kills the engine. And external engines require constant fuel. When the fuel runs out, the behavior stops. But when motivation is internal, when it's tied to identity and belonging, it sustains. Let me say something that might feel uncomfortable. If you care more about the reward than they do, the system's already broken. If you are tracking harder than they are engaging, the system's unstable. And if two adults in the house are not completely aligned about this, the instability multiplies. Children feel that gap immediately, not consciously, but deeply. And when they feel it, they move toward it. Not to manipulate, to stabilize themselves. In the next video, we're going to talk about exactly how that happens, because misalignment between adults quietly destabilizes everything we've discussed. Before you build another chart, before you increase the prize, before you tighten the system, pause and ask yourself, am I building compliance or am I building belonging? Because compliance can be purchased. Belonging has to be built. In the next video, we're going to talk about the one factor that will quietly undermine everything we've covered, even if you've enacted it perfectly: adult misalignment. Because when the adults are not steady and unified, no reward system, no routine, and no boundary will hold. And once you understand what that does to a child's sense of safety, you won't be able to unsee that either. Stay with me. This arc only makes sense when you see the whole thing.